Welcome back to an episode of Brews and Business with me and Abel here. We're missing Chance. He's out sick, so hopefully he recovers quickly. And we have a special guest. I'm very excited to have him in the studio. We have Abe Cruz, Forever Faith, Mindset of Champions. He has a book, a video trailer that we'll watch here in a minute. You guys can check that out and stuff too. So, man, how are you? Welcome to the studio.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor, a blessing, a privilege. So I'm always grateful.
It's so cool how this worked out because we're booked through until our next opening for a guest is at the end of August. Mm-hmm. And I met you last Friday at the end whiskey tasting benefiting Soldier's Wish. And we met through Soldier's Wish, one of the executive directors that's there.
Right.
And I was like, hey, we have an open spot next Friday, and I'm like, you have a fantastic story that I feel like just out of the few minutes that we got to spend with each other last Friday, I'm like, there are so many people that would love to hear this and be inspired by it.
Amen. That's what we're here for. That's what your platform is here for. So thank you guys for doing exactly what you're doing, because it's a team effort across the world. Nobody can improve another person's life without the opportunity and the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a book.
Yes.
You've got a book.
Yes, I have a book. It's called Forever Faith. The Abe Cruz story, Mindset of Champions, and it's the story. It's my life story. It shares the journey from when I was born and raised in East LA, all the way to probably 20. I released it in 2021. So it's the journey of how I came out of the hood of Pasadena, California, LA. Went to college, dropped out, made a horrible decision, ended up in prison.
Oh, man.
Hit rock bottom. The world didn't believe in me, and God gave me a second chance to come out and live out my mission and purpose on this planet.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And you've got a trailer to follow up with this?
Yes, we created a book trailer to obviously tell the story visually, because also the book will be turned into a movie. And we already knew that, and that was the plan. That's why we shot a book trailer anticipating a movie deal.
So once that gets loaded up, we'll watch that whenever we're ready for that to start playing. But before then, what happened to make that transition? There was something or a series of events that initiated. Something's got to change.
The change for good, right? The question. Well, the change for good is, and I believe this now, is that when you hit a rock bottom and you go through so much pain and suffering, you'll have that aha moment that says, okay, enough is enough. I've been an idiot. I've been selfish. I've been arrogant. I have to change my life. And hitting rock bottom and going to prison was absolutely that, because it was a wake-up call. I'm a 24-year-old kid from Los Angeles who thinks he's cool in Hollywood, and you go to prison with grown men that are there for murder and rape.
You ain't bad no more. I mean,
you're no, right. And so
big and strong anymore.
Yeah.
You think you were.
And you think, and if you keep that same attitude behind bars, you get checked very quickly. And I saw it happen, because it's a war zone every single day. Mm-hmm. So I was humbled as soon as I walked in. Yeah.
Did anybody inspire you while you were there?
The Holy Spirit, God. That was.
Did a Bible land on your lap one day and you're like, "This is it," or did you meet with somebody? Like, what was it?
Well, there's a couple things, but I will say Pastor Hellstrom. Now we're talking about it. Pastor Hellstrom was one of 8 different pastors out of Oklahoma. Shout out to Pastor Hellstrom. 7 or 8 different pastors would come in weekly. They would walk into the jail or to the set, and they would stay at the door, and they would wave at everyone and say, "Hey guys, we're gonna share God's word today. Is anyone interested?" No one responded. Everyone rolled over in their bed, ignored them, didn't care. Mm-hmm. Like they were annoyed that this pastor would walk in. Pastor Hellstrom was completely different. He would walk in. He wouldn't even announce himself. He would walk over to your bed, wake you up, grab you, give you a hug, and tell you, "Hey, man, let's get together today." And that's what he did to me. Like he didn't just walk in and say, "Hey, would anyone like to come hang out and speak the gospel or talk about Jesus?" No, he didn't mention any of that. He walked in like a real man who understood that there was people sad, depressed, full of chaos in their heart, and he just loved them. And there would be a lot of times where we wouldn't even talk about scripture or God or the Bible. We just talk about life. Why are we here? What did we do? Do we have a plan where we're going to get out? So Pastor Hellstrom was a huge a huge inspiration for me, but there's something happened to me before that. And if we can talk about it now or we can talk about it later, but
either one. Can we watch the trailer?
Let's watch the trailer, because the trailer will give you a little explanation and then I can get into detail.
So is this your one and only book right now?
This is my one and only book. I am working on the second one already. But this is it. Yeah.
Is it going to be like a continuation on this or something
part
different?
two. No, part two
of it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Part two.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And do you live here in the States?
I live in Bixby, Oklahoma.
Okay,
Nice.
so you're probably right around the corner from me.
Right.
Yeah.
down
I'm
the
out in
street.
Bixby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you?
Bixby's great.
I don't know if it was your other two business partners that came in, or if they were employees. They were partners.
They're our team. It's our team.
And they came in
right.
last week, and one of the gentlemen was talking about how he's from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You guys do business down there?
We're global at this point. We have clients in operations in Colombia, Mexico, Pakistan, Iceland, Switzerland, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica. Yeah, so our factories are in. We don't even know. We're talking about books, but we also have an apparel company.
Yeah,
and people will get that, but we have a sports apparel brand. It's the same name as the book, and that's Forever Faith, Mindset of Champions. And we have factories in Colombia, Mexico, and Pakistan currently, and we're getting ready. I'm ready to go to Bangladesh, Vietnam, and somewhere in Europe. I'm not sure yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
and this is like athletic wear.
This is straight athletic wear, sports wear, uniforms, basketball uniforms, football uniforms, track and field, volleyball, lacrosse, wrestling, anything that Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour produces at the NCAA level is what we're doing.
Yeah,
we are in the NCAA. We have 7 NCAA programs wearing our brand now. They're not wearing Nike or Adidas or Under Armour.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
That's
Man.
awesome.
And that was you just started this a few years ago.
Well, it's been a long journey, and that's why there's a story. There's a book, because it tells the journey of literally rock bottom, a dream, a vision from prison, to the world thinking that you're crazy, and then me flying to different countries. And when I flew to these countries, these factory owners said, there's something different about you. But see, God had already given me the vision, and it was clear. And in the Bible, it says, write out the vision, make it clear, and the world will see it. And it was written out in prison, on napkins with crayons and number 2 pencils, because and they're hiding pencils in there. So it was already written out from prison. So it was very clear. The rest of the world had to see it. So let's watch the trailer.
Can we watch it?
Let's watch it.
Everybody has a past. Everybody has a story to tell. And this is mine. There's no way I would have ever thought that my life would be headed down this road. I was born and raised in East LA. My father left when I was 4 years old. It was my mom that was left single, raising 2 boys and a girl. Growing up as a child, my dreams ultimately were to make it out of the hood. I thought becoming a professional basketball player or a professional football player would be my reality. What ended up happening was I ended up making my first $30,000, and ultimately that led me to a lot more major success, and I dropped out of college. When all of that ended, it was a very devastating time, but I made the decision to pack up my bags and just move back to LA. Someone approached me one day, all this hard work that you're doing, I can show you how to make way more money, in a weekend's time than what you're doing in 3, 4, 5 months. Drive here, drop this off, that's it. And I got pulled over right there on the turnpike, and Abe Cruz to 10 years in and 25 out. So I go in and, I'm kind of sad, I'm crying, I'm depressed. I was shattered. So I cried for a few days, and then finally I called my mom. But my mom said, don't lose faith. She tells me, son, you have to pray to him and you have to ask him for a second chance, but more importantly, you have to sacrifice. So how do you sacrifice in prison? She tells me, you need to fast for God. That night, I got on my hands and knees. I prayed. I started to dream and have visions every single night. I would wake up every morning and I would write out whatever vision I saw. Forever Faith is simply a message. That's it. It's a message that he gave me to deliver to the rest of the world. I get out of prison. I couldn't get a job. A year later,
mindset of a champion. Abe Cruz actually has the Forever Faith brand.
Celebrity, trainer, and personality, Abe Cruz.
Abe Cruz.
El señor Abe Cruz.
Con nosotros, Abe Cruz.
Abe Cruz.
Abe Cruz.
Abe Cruz.
Abe el primero.
Vamos, Abe, venga.
Tranquilo. Abe Cruz, lanza y está.
so that formula, there's an equation. It's very simple. The formula, God first, yourself second, you can't lose. Following God, that's the mindset of champions.
Man, you put in
Forever
some work
Faith,
to get all those
Mindset of
clips.
Champions. The Abe Cruz
Who
story.
made
Now
this?
English and Spanish
Me and
at
another person?
foreverfaith.com.
Probably did it on your iPhone, and it looks spectacular. I've done some cool stuff on my phone, but nothing like that.
It was
man. That's
definitely
cool.
definitely a no budget type of project.
It looks like a high end.
Well, life is about relationships. Who do you know? How can you get things done? And when we talk about mindset of champions, there are no limits. I don't believe in that. That's why we get the job done. It's just that simple. And I called 45 different prisons and jails to go back in and shoot the reenactment.
To let them do let them go in and do it.
Let me go
Yeah,
in. Yeah. I mean, we went back into jail for a day.
I was wondering how'd you get that shot?
I called.
I'm like,
It was
okay,
a
well,
real
you had to
jail.
do it afterwards.
Yeah. So this was actually during COVID.
Yeah.
And nobody said it's COVID. We're not letting anyone in. And I didn't make any sense to me. So I kept calling, and I got to the right people, and they welcomed us in, let us shoot for the day. Got the job done, and then saw the vision for the next part of the video, and then the hard work every day with programs and sports, and it's continuing. I mean, this is actually old, because over the last 7-8 months, oh man, we just got back from Puerto Rico. We had a pro boxer now fighting in our gear. Mm-hmm. We're working on pro boxing shoes. We got gloves for boxers. Cool. We have wrestling shoes now. So there's, reality shows. So that's old. There's so much new stuff, NCAA stuff to add in there. The journey's been exciting.
Which NCAA teams? Can you say?
Right now, I can't say those because everything's coming out this year.
Yeah.
But we're producing behind the scenes, and we already finished it. We got contracts in place.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so exciting. So connect a few more dots for me. Whenever you got out of prison,
yep.
Then what?
When I got out of prison, I was released on the ankle monitor because prison is overflowing. So on a 10-year sentence, I ended up doing almost 4 years. And, you know, I had 25 out on paper. So even right now today, and I say this every time I do an interview, TV, whatever, I'm currently on probation, you know, but unsupervised. So I could travel the world. I could do whatever I want. As a matter of fact, every time I get called to do something out of the country, the network will say, hey, you know, do we need to speak to your attorney? Do we need to speak to the probation office? And I said, no, don't worry, we're good. I can keep moving. So they insist on it, and they have to call up there or get me to go in. And probation is like, leave him alone. Leave us alone. Go do what you want. Stay out of trouble. And that's awesome. Yeah, but I was faced with, I got out of prison and I had to get a job because I had to pay for an ankle monitor. And it costs $175 a month. Right out of prison, you have no money, no job, no nothing, but you got to pay it in 30 days for the ankle monitor. So they pushed the fast track that you get a job. Well, when I got out, I had goals. I had vision. I had standards of living. And I said, all right, let me figure out how I can make $30, $40 an hour. So I walked around town in my ankle monitor. My mom had sent me some clothes from LA. I had a, Perry Ellis button-up shirt and some slacks with the ankle monitor. And I was walking up and down Peoria Boulevard because I stayed at a Christian sober living home right there on Peoria, and I think 35th or 35th, I think, yeah. And I walked to, dental offices, real estate companies for sales, mortgage, just anything that was of higher dollar. Everyone kind of kindly laughed at me and said, we'll get back to you. And
we all know what that means.
Yeah, right. So, and then I went to every gym in town and they all said no to me as well. And then my probation officer says, hey, it's like day 10. You have no job. What are you doing? And I said, I'm walking every single day to find a job. I even went to Paul Mitchell to sweep hair on the floor, and they wouldn't hire me. And so they called me and they said, hey, look, you got 48 hours to get a job or we're sending you back to prison. And when that happened, I called my mom, started crying. And I said, Mom, I've been trying. I've been walking around Tulsa.
And at this point, you're a young adult. I mean per se, you're 27.
No, at this point, I got out, I was 29. I was 29, almost 30, because I spent my 30th birthday out of prison. And I just kept walking, and then I talked to my mom, and she said, "Son, mijo," and she tells me, "Mijo, I'm Cuban Mexican," and she says, "Mijo, what did you learn in prison? You fasted for 40 days. You made a sacrifice to God. He knows your heart. Stay focused. Don't lose your faith. Keep moving." Well, that's what I did, and I had a job interview the next morning at another gym, actually All American Fitness, and I'll always promote them and say thank you because they gave me an incredible opportunity. It's now 10 Gym. They transferred the names, and I had a job interview, and the challenge was that I lived on Peoria and 35th, and this job interview was on 31st and Garnett, East Tulsa, and so it was like a 3-hour bus ride to get there by 10 a.m. I had to leave like at 5, so I could get there by like 8:30 or 9.
And for those who don't know, bus rides in Tulsa are not what they are in LA.
No, yeah,
like buses in LA, New York, Chicago, like there's buses running all the time.
Yeah,
like every 5-10 minutes there's a bus.
Right.
But in Tulsa,
I think it's every 30 hour.
30 hour.
Right.
Yeah. So if you miss one, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And
there's no trains here.
Right.
There's no taxis.
No.
I mean, you got an Uber or a Lyft, but I mean, if you don't have a cell phone.
When I had a cell phone, I just didn't have any credit cards or even cash. I didn't even have money.
Take cash.
Right, well, see, that's what. Yeah, so I had no other. I mean, I had like 75 cents in my wallet, my pocket. So, but so I had the job interview the next morning, 3-hour bus ride. I said, I'm not going to make it on time. You asked me about my inspiration. Well, that pastor who pulled me out of my cell bed and said, "Come on, young man, let's talk." Well, when I was in there and he did that the very first time, we became friends. So every time I would look forward to him coming in every week, because every week that he would come in, I would be working on Forever Faith Mindset of Champions. I would be designing clothing. I designed clothing. I worked on a comic book. I created a movie script. I created workout equipment. I was busy. So every time he would come in, I would show him all the paperwork that I was working on that I still have today. I still have all of it. And I showed him everything that I was working. I said, young man, you're very creative and you have a bright future. I said, well, thank you so much. And I said, I told you I've been fasting. I went from 185 pounds to 152. And the truth is I was strong. Even though I was fasting, I was strong because I had a whole new spiritual injection of the Holy Spirit. Like that's the only explanation. So even though I was thinner, I was stronger. And when I would sleep, it would be like an autopilot. I'd be asleep. My brain, my body would be resting, but my brain would be seeing the visions of the future. So I was just putting together the puzzle in my brain of the next 50 years. So I would wake up every morning and I had like photographic memory and I would wake up and I would write it out. I would write out a new design. I would write out me walking and doing marketing. I would write out the marketing campaign strategy. At this point, I didn't know what Facebook or Amazon or none of that was.
Or how to do any of that.
I didn't know how to do any of it. Yeah, I was a college dropout. So I didn't know how to do any of that.
It's funny, like even a lot of the people that work for me here, like they've gone to college and they're they have an intern. They all want to have marketing degrees. The intern here is like, I've learned more here in a month than I have in my college in the last 3 years.
Right.
Like I don't get any of the application. I don't get to do any of it,
Right.
but for the most part. And so,
Yeah.
So you have to do it in order to for the most part. But even then, so that's interesting how you were still, and you had passion, vision, and you were excited for it, and you did something with it. You weren't just like dreaming. Dreaming about it and hoping and wishing, and somebody will do this for me.
No, No, I mean, I knew it. And, and I'm a stick figure kind of a drawer. I was just drawing stick figures of what I saw in my brain. And then what I would end up doing while I was fasting is I would take my food, my trays of food, and I would give it to a tattoo artist. And then he would end up drawing things out visually to make it a reality to me.
That's cool.
So he designed our first Forever Faith logo. It was Forever Faith with a cross and a skull, and it was good versus evil and good overcoming evil. And that was the thought process of it. It was a message. I did a comic book. In the comic book, it was called Dark Justice. Dark Justice. We could get into that later. But all the characters in the comic book were wearing the Forever Faith brand. They were all in clothes. We had the whole collection.
That's awesome.
So, anyway, I was going back to the inspiration where Pastor Hellstrom, I would share all this with him. And then 4 years later, when I get out of prison and I have a job interview, I call him. And I said, Pastor, it's Abe. I don't know if you remember me. I'm the crazy guy who told you he was going to start a clothing line and this and that. He said, yes, Abe, of course I remember you. How can I help you? And I said, I have a job interview tomorrow morning. It's going to this is what happened. I had a job interview at 10, but I had to report to probation at 8 or 9. That's what happened. Yeah. Because I had
to. Was it that 48-hour period?
Yes.
Okay. So you literally had that 1-2 hours that morning, that day.
Yeah. They wanted to see me. They wanted me to bring in all of the different job applications and interviews I had went to because they wanted to see how real I was telling them.
Yeah.
I said, no, I've applied at 17 different locations. They said, okay, bring us the paperwork. You're supposed to have the person sign it and show us that you went there. So I did, and I did all of that. And so I had to go there, but I couldn't make my interview at the same time, right? So Pastor Hellstrom, I said, I need to go to the probation office. Can you help me? And then after I got to go to my job interview, and I'm 48 hours away from being sent back to prison, So he said, Abe, I have one condition. I'll take you, but this is the deal. I'll take you to your probation and your job interview if you come to church with me on Sunday. And I said, of course.
You're like, no problem.
No problem, of course. So he picked me up that morning. We went into probation. I went dressed in slacks, like I said, and a button. I think I had a tie on. And in probation, they looked at me and said, why are you dressed like that? I said, I have a job interview. Dressed to impress. They looked at me like I was crazy.
Isn't that what you want?
Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do
Well,
to
you
get
hadn't given up yet.
They probably look like you're crazy because that's not the norm.
Right.
That's not what they expect. They expect the most guys, okay, listen, you're going back
done.
now.
I'm done.
They keep sending them back. And so when they get a guy that comes in that's not the norm, you're crazy.
Right. Yeah. and they said, I don't care if you're sweeping the floor and washing dishes at McDonald's. Go wash dishes. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm overqualified for that. And I said it so kindly, but so
matter-of-factly.
So certain and confidently.
Right.
They looked at me like, who's this guy? So, and Pastor Hellstrom was there to witness it. And he said, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, because he saw how they treated me. I'm a convicted felon, right? So they're not supposed to respect me. So anyway, we did that. They said, well, you got till Monday. And he took me to my job interview. We sat in front of the gym, 10 Gym, 31st and Garnett. And he said, Abe, I'm going to pray for you. God has a plan for you. You have a purpose on this planet. So he prayed for me, grabbed my hand, prayed for me. I went into my job interview. The vice president looked at my resume that I printed out, and it looked pretty good, right? For my 20s, like real estate and personal training and acting in Hollywood. And then 4 years blank. And they're like,
That's where they always ask.
yeah, they're like, well,
What happened?
What happened here? I said, well, the truth is, and I can't lie to you, well, I just got out of prison. I lifted my leg up. I said, I'm on the ankle monitor. And, I'm looking for a job. I'm ready to work hard. I'm ready to improve your numbers here at this gym. I have the ability to do it. I speak English and Spanish. I think I would be an asset to your company. He was a little like thrown off. I said, I just messed up. Made the wrong choice and went to prison, and I had to deal with it. But I'm out now, and I'm focused on having an incredible future. I have plans for the future, but I'm here to dedicate myself to you now here. Long story short, he said, Abe, something about you that I'm going to give you an opportunity. So he gave me the job. I started crying, literally right there.
Yeah.
I started crying. And so he said, all right, well, you'll start tomorrow morning. So I went out to Pastor Hellstrom. I gave him a hug, and I said, I got the job, and this and that. And I said, you go ahead. I'll take the bus home today. I'm happy. I want to relax for the day, and I'll go home. And remember, I have to charge my ankle monitor, though, every couple hours. So I was traveling.
It dies that fast? It doesn't last all day?
No. So you got to carry it with you.
Because if it goes off.
If it goes off, they're going to send the hunt squad out for you.
Yeah.
Yep, because they think you cut it or you did something. So you got to have it with you. I'm charging it, yeah. So I told him to go.
Look like the Oculus, where people are. Have you seen people walking on the street with the backup battery, the Oculus thing?
Yeah.
You got like a cable and a backup thing.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So I end up told him, I said, you can go home. Or you can go on about your day. I'll take the bus. And I asked the vice president. I said, can I work out? I love working out. I'm gonna be a trainer now. I want to get back into it really hard, And well, one thing I didn't tell you guys, those 14 or 10 or 12 days that I was looking for jobs, I started the day off at a gym where I just got a free guest pass.
Oh, yeah, you used that? Yeah.
Of course. So I did that at a new gym every 3 days. And so I spent a couple hours training before I went to go out on the streets and do my interviews.
Man,
That's awesome.
where there's a will, there's a way.
But I was certain that I would be getting a job at a gym. So I said, well, I'm going to be here. I'm sure they're going to hire me.
I get that tenacity, though. I've done some stuff like that.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to believe in yourself like that, man.
Yeah.
You're just like, dude, you have to. When nobody else does it, you just do it.
That was our slogan. It was one of our slogans. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Yeah. And that has evolved into God first and yourself second. Because, I truly believe that when we put him first, he gives us the direction, the clarity. He gives us all of what we need. And that has been a time of a process and a journey to develop and understand life, maybe maturity or wisdom or humility and all of the above, right? Surrender.
Yeah. So you got the job.
So I got the job. I told him to go on. I worked out for an hour and a half. I didn't have like maybe $2 in my wallet, barely. After I worked out, I walked right next door where there was a supplement store. The supplement store was there. They sold smoothies, right? I wanted to see maybe they got one for $2 and I can get a smoothie, protein. I'm a new man.
And this was pre-COVID, so you could probably get a smoothie for $2.
Yeah.
Now they're $9.
Right? Yeah, they are $10.
In Tulsa, that's different. Again.
Right. So I walked in there, just looked around for a second. I felt a little pumped up because I just came from the gym.
You got the pump.
Yeah, I got the pump. No supplements. Somebody walks in a minute right after me, behind me, and they're literally right next to me. They're looking at the supplements. They're like, "Hey, what do you recommend? You look like you're in pretty good shape. Is there something that you recommend?" I'm thinking to myself, I've been in prison for 4 years. These are all new to me. I don't know what's on the market. I looked at one of these supplements that I knew from 8 years ago, right? Still lived. And Twin Lab or Animal Pack or something that has always been there. And so I told this person, I think this is a pretty good one. You should get it. It was like an $80 supplement. They walk over to the front, pay for it. The owner was there. I didn't know it was the owner. The owner was at the front, rang them up, they paid for it. They left. The owner says, "Hey, young man, come here. What's your name?" I said, "Hello, ma'am." It was a woman. I said, "Hello, ma'am. My name is Abe Cruz. yes, how can I help you? I'm in her shop, right? And she says, well, the truth is, I thank you for helping that customer. You know, it looked like he actually listened to you. I said, yeah, no problem. I didn't, you know, I said, I remember that, but I don't really know too much about it. But she's like, well, I'm looking for help here. And if you're interested, I would offer you a full-time job.
You're like, I'll have 2 jobs now.
And of course, I took the job, and literally, you know, an hour later, I called my probation officer. I said, I got 2 jobs. They didn't believe anything. They said, let me talk to your manager. Let me talk to everybody. And I said, well, I'm friends with the owner here now, so I'll have the owner call you at the supplement store. and then I got hired by the vice president at the gym, so I'll say, I'm friends with the vice president now, so I'll have him call you or email you, whatever you would like. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened, and I cried, and I called my mom. And
was this in the same day?
This was in the same day.
Oh
This was all within 3 hours.
So it's almost like we've all been in a position, right, where something goes south, right? Like you're in prison, you're like almost beating yourself up. I'm sure, like, hey, this is a dream. This is a dream. I'm going to wake up.
Depression.
And this is the exact opposite that happened to you in the day. It's like you went from, oh shit, I'm going back, to, holy shit, I got 2 jobs.
I got 2 jobs.
Dude, I got
the
it.
Same day. So that's kind of like
awesome.
That's like my brother that just graduated the police academy, and he bought his first house in the same day.
That's awesome.
So
That's
like he
awesome.
got his dream job made. Like that's big life progress.
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So proud of him because
That's not easy.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. No.
Yeah.
Man,
Definitely to
that's
become an
awesome.
officer is not easy, and to be a good officer is even harder. And I think I know he's got a good heart. He's gonna be
Right.
one of the few that is gonna stand out. So,
Amen.
he got certificates. He made 3 records in the police academy when he was there. He made 3. He got 1 for fitness, and there was
You can
like
connect with him.
Yeah, something like that. It's
He's a
really
stud.
cool. And he's jacked.
Is he?
Yeah.
He doesn't
He's-
look it, but he is.
He's 6'3",
That's a big guy.
195.
It's a big guy.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
So that's amazing. So you got
Yeah.
you got 2 jobs.
I got 2 jobs.
And you didn't go back to prison
didn't go
that
back to
day.
prison, no,
yeah.
no.
Dude,
And
that's awesome.
Okay, cool. So now what?
So now I'm just happy. I'm smiling. I'm a new man who's free. I was in prison for 4 years, and now I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? So I had my workout, got the second job, took the bus home, cried, just so excited that I was free. I got to go back to my Christian sober living home, charge my ankle monitor, take a bath, and get ready for a job the next day because I started at 9 a.m. So I had to take a bus at 5.
And at 10 Gym, you were a fitness trainer?
Yes, I was a fitness trainer.
And I assume you probably did other stuff there too.
Well,
whatever.
at the beginning, I was a fitness trainer, a personal trainer, and then that evolved into fitness trainer / sales. And then eventually I became the manager. I became the manager about 3 months into it. But that's kind of when everything started to shift because I was at the supplement store, I had hours, 4, 5, 6 hours where I'd sit around and wait for clients to come in. And if clients didn't come in, then what do you do?
Bored.
So what I did was I took all of my paperwork from prison and I was reviewing all my notes for my marketing strategy, my design concepts, the direction of the future. So I went to the dollar store, bought a t-shirt for $1, and I drew my logo on it. And I said, okay, well, I understand the vision and here it is. Now let's start itemizing the strategic plan. I went on Google. How do you start a clothing line? Just like that, right?
Yeah.
And print shops come up and the basics. Well, in the gym, I started every client I met, I would talk to them about goals and the future. And I said, what is your goals and your future? And then that just I got into so many deep emotional conversations with people. And I remember crying with clients, talking about their journey in life and mine, because obviously half of the time I had to tell them I had an ankle monitor, or if they'd ask or something like that.
A lot of times when you ask, people will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had nothing to hide. I was just being truthful. But I had so many kind people that weren't judgmental, that were just so supportive of me moving forward. And the gym was a great environment. And I just started meeting people. And I ended up meeting somebody that believed that I wasn't crazy. They saw all of the paperwork that I had from prison that was actually pretty good. So they said, well, I'll help you print some t-shirts. They printed 20 t-shirts for me for free. We sold them in the gym. Literally gave them, just had them in a box, and whoever was in the gym, I said, hey, I'll sell it to you. I start off high, sell them low. But before you knew it, I had 10, 15 different people in the gym wearing our tank tops.
Right.
And then I was starting to kind of build up, back up. And I was, well, actually I got out of prison pretty big because I was eating potatoes and pasta and bread every day. Like that's all they give you. So I was already pretty thick. I started to get a little more ripped. And training hard every morning. And then, you know, I had like I said, I ended up having 2 jobs, sold shirts. I bought my first car for $600, Acura Integra, red. I remember going up to North Tulsa somewhere, and the owner of the supplement store took me because they started taking me home and picking me up, because then I started opening earlier. They're like, well, if you're willing to work, we'll pay you. And I know the bus doesn't ride, but I'll pick you up at 5 or 6. You open up the shop by 7, you know, and it ended up working because I would work half of the day at the supplement store, the other half at the gym. And we had that system, bought my first car. Then I started selling the t-shirts out of the trunk of my car. Then I started to bring in bigger boxes and selling them out of the gym. And that's how it started. And eventually I met somebody by the name of Fred Bassett, who was a Broken Arrow dog show judge, worked at American Airlines, an incredible human being. I call him Pops. He's my father figure, mentor. He was there for me from the beginning. He still is. He's a business partner of mine. He saw the shirts. He said, oh man, this is an awesome message, Forever Faith. Like, what is it? And I told him the whole story. Long story short is we sat down and had lunch 2 or 3 times, and he offered photography services to say, hey, I know I saw some of we had a website up, but no clothing. I didn't know how to do it. We didn't have money, none of it. We had a couple of t-shirts that we sold. So he was like, I'll help you do photos the next time you get your next shipment in or your next round. And I said, great. Well, long story short is he went home, came back 3-4 days later and said, Abe, I went home and I prayed, and I feel like God sent me to help you. And what ends up happening from there, no one will believe, but he says, I'm not a rich person, but I am retired, semi-retired. I love dog show judging, and I have these credit cards, and I'm going to help you. And he ended up giving me $80,000 worth of credit cards.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we started the business, and he trademarked the business and got the LLC up and running, and got the legitimate business operation of it. I was slanging t-shirts from the trunk of my car.
Yeah.
Then he had some graphic talent. He had some graphics abilities. We started doing mock-ups on clothing, which was never
That started
done.
to be really exciting at that moment.
Absolutely, because it was becoming real.
Again, you almost, I'm sure you felt that same way as when that tattoo artist.
Exactly.
Just putting those things together.
Absolutely.
You're like,
A whole new
you're
level
like, I
of
can
that.
see it and I can feel it.
Absolutely.
And even if I draw it, like that's great, but now there's some color or texture to it. It's like, ooh,
Look,
now
and you can
it's,
change the sleeve color. We can mix and match colors.
Yeah, like this design you got on is dope.
Thank you. Thank you. At the end of the day, it's, unorthodox. I kind of just do what I feel, what's in my spirit, my emotion. And, at the end of the day, when you talk about sales, I guess we're getting into a sales discussion, it's your marketing strategy. How are you creating a conversation piece? And that's exactly what
this is a conversation starter.
Every day.
This is cool.
Every
I'm sure
day.
you could just walk around Walmart and people are like, oh, that's cool. Where'd you get that? Who is that?
Every single day. Every single day. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So it just took off from there. I mean, we just started, and then, I'm on a national TV show the next week. Or no, not next week, but like 6 months later.
Basically next week.
Yeah.
Right. Well, once you look at it, in business, it all just seems to go so fast. You're like, because I was telling Sydney, and we're having an anniversary party next week for our 6th birthday party. And it's like, damn, it's already been 6 years. Like, we didn't do anything for our 1st birthday because my dad had just died. So we were kind of like tied up in that, right? But it's like, you don't realize that it took this long, because it literally feels like just yesterday I was out there working in the trenches.
Right.
And it's like, man, okay. And then you mentioned just a second ago of that feeling of, seeing these designs, and now it's different because you have a little bit of grit. And it's like, man, you still feel that six years in. And even now, like, Braden, you've been, running this for 10 years,
10 years, 1 month.
Exactly.
Probably 6 hours.
So,
Yeah.
but even then, it's like, the studio went from phase 1 to
Right.
phase 2,
Right.
phase 3, phase 4, so on and so forth. And then every rendition was like, oh man, okay.
Right.
And then you move in here, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. And how
This
many
is-
mistakes and delays were in between on the journey? How many hiccups? How many slowdowns?
They're still going.
I've made mistakes for the last 8 years. First 8 years was nothing but mistakes,
yeah.
And
and I
it's
think
not
I
gonna
put
stop.
I think I put it on myself for that.
No.
Sure.
Because there was a handful of moments that I can remember saying, I used to ask as a kid, my mom would be like, if you had any wish, what would it be? And we're talking 10, 12, 14, whatever, 16. I'm like, I'd ask God for wisdom.
Amen.
Like if I could have any superpower or
Right,
whatever, I'm like,
right.
give me wisdom.
Right.
Well, wisdom's different than education.
Yes.
Right? It's different than being book smart. It's different than being like street smart or whatever.
Yeah.
It's unique in its own way. And usually gain wisdom in the best way by having experiences.
Sure.
By trial and error and failing and succeeding and whatever.
Right.
And so I think throughout my 20s, I just kept failing and just couldn't
Yeah.
figure out why am I continually failing. And I'm not saying that now I'm like crazy succeeding or anything, but I'm always improving and stuff. But I think that's caught up to me for years, where it's like, oh, you kept asking for wisdom. I'm gonna keep giving it to you.
Right.
You're gonna keep learning. And
Yep.
I heard the best time to make mistakes is in your 20s.
100%.
It's easiest to make recoveries. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, my 20s, I'm going to accept that I'm going to make as many mistakes as possible. And even like midway through my 20s, I'm like, I'm going to keep making mistakes. Like
Yeah.
I'm a buy, sell houses, have a kid or two. Yeah, well, two would be last year. So yeah, but that's out of my 20s. So get married, get divorced, move, travel, like
Yeah.
go through almost filing bankruptcy, go through a lawsuit.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of things like that, where I'm like, okay, maybe I can accept the fact that in my 20s, I did just fail as much as I could, and in my 30s is going to be a different story. So I'm expecting that vision to be different.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I guess when my vision in my 20s was like, I'm going to want to learn, so then I know, like what I would say to him, I'm gonna make sure I cover my ass before I get started. We'll ask that question, and look, you're smart. You're here in a little bit. So we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So. Anyways,
That's part of the journey. I mean, you wouldn't be sitting here today if you didn't go through those trials and
Yeah.
and obstacles,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's part of growth. You can't grow without that. So, you learn from it and you get up and you do it again, and then wisdom tells you, don't go down that path. You already tried it.
right.
Let's try this one now. So
try something different.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right.
it.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
No.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
love the conversation.
Okay. So there's two questions that I like to ask.
Yeah.
And those cards shipped, by the way, Diary of CEO cards.
Nice.
So we're gonna start using those on the show.
Okay.
So
Okay.
two questions I'd like to ask is, one, do you just get started? Just dive in, do it, fail, stand up, and just keep doing it. Or should you be prepared first before you just get started?
Those are both great questions. And
That was part one. That was
okay,
one question.
okay.
So do you just get started, or should you be prepared first?
Well, I mean, those are simple questions, right? But there's the reality of life and making a decision to which one do you do. And in life, so I talk about this all the time with my team. We have concepts, we have ideas, we have strategies, but do we ever get up and do them? Are we taking action? Faith without works is dead. You have to get up and do it. So I can't answer your question. Every individual is different, right? Every individual, and we can't use these words to describe a person, because everyone's level of wisdom is different. Everyone has their own skill sets. Everyone has their own abilities. So what someone might tell, I'm very passionate and energetic, and I go get it. So somebody that doesn't know me, and if they see me working, they're gonna say, that guy is a firecracker, and he could be creating so many problems.
Too many irons in the fire.
Too many irons in the fire, right? But if you sit down with me for 30 or 40 minutes and I break down what's in my brain, you're going to say,
Oh, that
man,
makes sense.
that
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
How the hell does he get all that done?
So I wake up at 5. I wake up at 5. I'm executing at 6. By 7, I've done this. By 8, I've done that. It's planning. Jim Rohn says, people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. So that goes back to your question. However, what happens if you don't plan because you don't have the ability, you don't have the skill set yet. I say you still get started. You got to keep moving in the right direction. And I also believe that when you start things with the right purpose and the right passion and you understand your mission, God's going to send angels into your path to help you. So I can't
You said this
answer.
so well.
No, that-
because
it can't be
there's
both.
no right answer.
There's no right
No,
answer.
of course not. Of course not.
It's just a great question.
Yeah, it is a great question, and an over analytical person was going to slow down and give you an actual
They're
answer.
going to be your brake to your gas.
Yeah.
And you need that.
You
too,
absolutely-
because otherwise you're so gung ho.
You met Jeff, my partner.
Yeah.
We bump heads, but I love it. I need it.
Need it.
I'm 100% okay with the disagreeing of something, but I also do tell him in the middle of the journey to success, I say, champ, I understand the concern, but I'll use sports as an analogy. And I go back to like when I was 11, basketball. This is like the perfect example. Our coach, I'm 11. The coach is saying, all right, guys, no 3-point shots. I don't want anyone shooting any jump shots over 18 feet. Let's work on moving the ball and let's get a layup because that's the highest percentage shot.
Right.
Sure. Okay, great strategy, coach, but I can shoot 3-pointers. You're 11, so you're not supposed to be able to shoot that well. What are you going to shoot, 10%? So in a couple of games, I shot outside of his flow and I made it. And I made a second one and he took me out. And he said, I don't care that you made it. You're not following my system. And I said, Coach, I understand, but I'm not like the rest of your 11-year-olds. I'm just not. And I ended up playing varsity basketball as a true freshman. And I started on varsity and I took the position of a senior and I guarded Baron Davis in the state finals and played all those guys.
Yeah. How long did you play ball for?
I mean, from 11 till college. I played basketball and football in college. Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
So I said, Coach, I understand your strategy, but those guys can't shoot. I can shoot better than most high school guys at 11. Mm-hmm. So you're slowing down our success. We went like 28-0. We won the championship. And I same thing when I got to high school. I was a freshman on varsity, and Coach didn't want to run and gun. But I grew up in LA where we was run and gun and full court press and let's go get it. And if we stop on a fast break, we'll shoot a 3 on a fast break instead of a layup because we can shoot.
Yeah.
So going back to business, what concerns you because of your abilities and your skill sets, you can't judge that or put that on someone else. You can't limit them. You're going to tell Michael Jordan, don't shoot? Only in the so every individual is different. You can't slow them down. Appreciate, acknowledge their gifts. You will never acknowledge their gifts if you have too much arrogance and pride to understand that, hey, we're all different. Let's work as a team and everyone go do what you need to do in the team concept. So it's just something that, I've learned from sports and now I think I'm putting that in play into our business and our growth. And we're bringing on employees, we're bringing on sales, we're building our own internal team. And now I'm having to actually think about these things.
The other question is, were you lucky or were you smart?
I was blessed. I was fortunate. I think that I will always put God first at the forefront of everything that I do. And as a reality, I'll actually say the good and the bad, I'm going to give credit to God. I'm not going to only say, God blessed me with this, but then what happens when something unfortunate happens? It's a mindset, right? I don't give the devil the credit. I know some people do, and we argue about this a lot. And I'm sorry, but these are my thought processes and my belief systems, and I don't mean to offend anyone. But I also believe that God teaches us lessons. So did the devil or did the enemy send me to prison?
No. God allowed it to happen because otherwise you'd be dead.
I'd be dead. He needed to teach me a
He
lesson.
needs you to be alive because you have this to do.
And he knew that, but he had to put me through my own trials and tribulations. Everyone in the Bible, as I don't get so educated into the Bible, I'm an amateur when it comes to the Bible. Jim Rohn said that. But the stories of Abraham and Moses and everybody, there was a story and a journey of sacrifice and humility and learning. You had to go through a stage of growth to get to who you are today. So, God is the answer on why I'm here today. God first, and then me second. So God has taught me, he has showed me, he has injected me with his word and his Holy Spirit. Now I am focused, committed, and hungry to pursue my passion for him. So God first, me second. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. because I need to go get it. I hope I answered that right.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've heard.
So no luck. There is no luck.
I've heard from we've heard from a couple other people
Couple
where
people.
someone was like, no, I was smart, and I made the right decisions, the right time, at the right place, and I knew what I was doing the whole time. And I was like, okay. And then there's others, or a couple. There's one guy who was like, I was lucky to be given the opportunities, and I took advantage of it, and it was a
Right.
little bit of a combination. I was smart enough to when I was lucky to have the opportunities, I was smart enough to take advantage of it.
Sure.
Right. So
Well, I mean, I would agree more on that direction, but going into the word luck, right? So
it's where just money just falls on your lap, like right now, it just fell from the
it
sky.
just doesn't happen.
It just
So,
doesn't happen,
I've
yeah.
been on airplanes. I've been on transport systems in the airport to take us to the next thing, right? Opportunity is every second of the day, depending on what you want to do with it. I could pick up my phone right now and message someone in South Africa and create a lead. Is that luck? I did something about it. If I was in the airport and I sat next to a young man, handsome, dressed well, and I said, "It's a pleasure to meet you. What's your name? What do you do for a living?" I just created a lead
luck.
and an opportunity instantly, and then I closed a $500,000 deal.
Did you get lucky that you happened to have sat by him?
That's not luck. That's the world, the system has put you into that position. I wouldn't call it luck.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's God at play.
I like to challenge
You know?
That's
questions
what, yeah,
sometimes.
of course. Yeah, but I would go to that. I was in the restroom at Walmart. I was in the restroom at Walmart using the restroom. Someone saw my shoes. They commented on them. We were selling, and now we're selling them aprons at their barbershop.
Oh, that's cool.
There's opportunity everywhere, every single second of the day.
Yeah. Well, that's like I say that's God at work because
Yeah.
I was just talking to Sydney and we're kind of talking about the anniversary party and everything. I was like, man, we just started the business kind of like on accident. Like, my brother had already tried to start a business, failed a couple times for him. I had tried to start a couple businesses, failed a couple times. We just happened to end up without a job at the same time, and just so happened to have money in the bank. Now, was that luck? I don't know, because there was a lot of things that happened before that, like failing multiple other businesses, like selling certain things or saving money and doing all these things that maybe at the time we didn't understand the plan.
Right.
Right. But we're just doing what feels right. We're just following the plan. And then somehow something bad or something, I was lucky enough that our company failed. But I was smart enough to say, hey, we're going to start this up. My
Right.
brother and I, I would
But
say.
you picked up from that,
Right. And
that
I would
word
say
failure. You didn't fail.
No,
It just didn't
no.
happen according to the time.
No, not at all. Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, we just saw that and it was like, well, people could say that. And it's like, well, and it's hard because there's also that hard work thing behind the luck or smart, right? Because then I tell people like, yeah, I'm lucky to be in a family run business. Like, it's really nice to have 4 siblings work for me that all of us I can trust with my life. My mom works for me. I can call on anybody, anytime, and boom, they're there, my family. It's great. I'm pretty lucky to have that. But it takes a lot of hard work to have a happy family like that.
Absolutely.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Is that luck or is that, creating the opportunity, creating that? Because we could just decide, hey, we're not going to have that happy relationship. And we're just going to, every time somebody gets pissed, there goes that relationship and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, it's like we're a happy family, functioning family. And it's like, man, that's awesome. And everybody's like, wow, you're lucky to have that. It's like, well, I don't know. Mom and dad did a great job. But I know that shit was hard for mom and dad.
Absolutely.
Right? It's just, I have to agree with him. It's kind of all in the same. It's a word we have for something we can't explain.
Do you have any questions for Abel or I?
Well, yeah. I mean, I love to hear. Well, as we're getting really, we talk about storylines, and then we're getting into the entrepreneur mindset. Well, what is the business that you're referring to? I'd like to hear about it.
ARC
Yeah.
Outdoorsman, it's a landscape business. So we just
Okay.
do general outdoor landscaping, drainage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we just got into business kind of on accident. We grew up working outside just because mom and dad loved it. We had a bunch of land. And then we all ended up working at a landscape company together, 3 brothers.
Wow.
And then the company closed on us one day, and my older brother and I happened to have a little bit of money, and I bugged him enough that we ended up starting the business, and
Awesome.
one thing led to another.
But
and
it was
now-
already in your soul, your spirit, because you had learned,
Oh, man.
you had dedicated, you had sacrificed for that other company.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
the goal of being an entrepreneur had set in very early in life. Like I knew I was going to be a business owner. I
How
didn't
old are
know,
you?
I'm 29.
So that's awesome. And
Yeah.
you said it fell in your 20s.
Yeah.
You know, my failure was, you know, my freedom, but I didn't want to cut you off, but just this point, I feel that we need to push and encourage our next generation, our youth, into opening their mind and thinking about entrepreneurship before they're 20. Like they need to start thinking about it when they're 13. My son folds clothes for me. He'll come on deliveries. We do sizing with programs, and he'll go out there and help and hold the clothes, and then have to put it down on paper. You know, so like if we push our youth to that thought process, I think that their success is guaranteed way sooner than like ours.
Right.
You know,
I'm going to start training Cole. He's going to have a summer internship program
Yeah.
at Blue
Nice.
Studio, where he's going to take Devin's job in here. I'm going to see how he does on some blank ones and see how he does with training. But
How
I was
old is
like, he is 10.
That's awesome.
perfect age.
And
Absolutely.
the other one's 9. And they both have a little bit of, I don't know. Like I need to get. I'm trying to expand their minds right now while they're still at an early age.
Hey, but they're still young enough to be innocent.
Correct.
Yeah, of
Correct.
course.
They're still young
And
enough to be
I don't necessarily
innocent.
want them to be like, oh, my dad made me do this as a kid, and I don't
Yeah,
want to go
you
down
do.
his path necessarily. If that's not what they're, I'll always
I
encourage
think
those
they need that
opportunities.
right
They
now.
do.
But
They
I'm-
need
I
a little
think
bit
they
of that
need
hard
But I'm
dad.
encouraging those opportunities.
Sure.
I'm always encouraging
How do you trick
exploration.
them
Get
into
out
it?
there.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything
Yeah.
is influence,
Right.
right? And I always get into John C. Maxwell.
Yep.
21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Leadership is simply influence, good or bad. So if we have our kids and they're going to school, what is our goal for our kids in the future? Like, what is the goal?
To go to a 9 to 5.
Is that our goal?
No, but it is like
I
that's
mean,
the whole
essentially,
system.
and
Yeah.
it's funny
If
you
you
say that,
allow
but-
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I ask my friends on a daily basis. I said, "What is the goal for your kids?" I said, "Okay, I understand that." Now, we send our kids to school. Who's their teacher? They don't know their name.
Right.
What's their background?
Right.
What's their belief system?
Right.
What was their education? How much? What's their like?
See, I love that because that's why my kids are homeschooled. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
man.
like,
So
hey,
you're
why?
you're smart.
I was
Because
homeschooled.
mom
You're-
is raising
yes.
them, and then not only that, I told them just probably a couple months ago, hey, once you turn 6, that's the magic number. I'm going to start scheduling days. You're going to come to work with me. And they're like, what are we going to do at work? I'm like, you're going to go introduce yourself to my customers. You're going to listen to how I talk to my customers. You're just going to be aware of your surrounding as an adult. And
Know how to
I'm
shake a
sorry.
hand.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. In the middle of the day, we're going to go play and have a picnic. And you're still 6, but you're going to get in and out of the truck. You're going to look presentable. I want you in uniform, all these things. And it's like, they're so excited. And I tell them,
That's awesome.
I'm excited because there's certain things that it's not that they don't want to teach these things in school. There is no time. There's too many kids and there's structure that just doesn't make sense to me. And that's where I'm like, you know what? They can read, write, and do math in both Spanish and
Well, they
English.
don't write anymore.
I'm happy.
They're
It's
everything is
typing,
on
right.
computers. They don't write.
But nonetheless, they got to read,
Yeah.
nonetheless, in Spanish and English.
Yes.
And then the rest of it, I'm going to teach them just life.
That's awesome.
And my wife's like, okay, I kind of like that. Like, that's hard because it's not quite normal.
Traditional.
Right. It's not traditional. But at the same time, it's like, but we always have this saying. And we've all heard it, right? It's either hard now or it's hard later.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? Let's just be hard right now. And I teach my kids here, like I've been saying a lot, because they're getting to that age where they're starting to see like things are hard. And like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, hey, you learn more the more it hurts. You want to learn to ride your bike? You got to take off the training wheels.
Right.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But you got to get back on it.
Yep.
You want to go, and you want to learn how to do this? It's got to hurt. My wife's like, but they're, I have 3 little girls, you should. It's like, no, because they have their mom to coddle them. I still need to be their dad. I still need to show them that, hey, even though it sucks, even though it hurts, you got to do it because you're going to learn something. You're going to do. And in school, they're 8, in my opinion, they're 8 hours there. Dude, they don't get that attention. They don't get that type of, and I get to come home every day for lunch, which is another big thing why I don't want them to go to school. Because I'm like, dude, my dad being a truck driver, I never got to see him. And I'm
My
like,
dad was as well.
yeah. And I'm like, and the other day my wife's like, okay, but it's just lunch. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I'm filling a hole that I have. So get off my back. Like, I go home for lunch for me, and I love to see my kids and I love to see you. And she's like, I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. I love seeing you come home for lunch. But it is those things that, like I said, with my idea behind having the kids at home is school is great. It is fantastic. But at the same time, man, there's just certain things of life that I wish I would have been taught earlier that I'm learning now that I feel I can implement those things, that character into my kids at a younger age. if I get to take them to work maybe once a month and just say, hey, today you're going to spend the day with dad. And today mom doesn't get to say X, Y, Z or coddle you or whatever. It's like, no, guess what? Dad, I'm tired of being in the car. Well, that sucks. We got 3 more appointments to go to. So you either pass out in the car or whatever. You're going to have to get over it. We're not done with the day.
Right.
And I feel that every day. So get over it, you know. But it's just those things that in school, I feel we're not able to the kids aren't really able to grasp those concepts. And that's where, like, I'm like, you know what? They got to learn how to communicate essentially with the world.
Right.
Math, letters, words, stuff like that. And then after that, you know, it's character.
The technology and laptops and phones are great devices, and they could be used to advance so much. But they also are a crutch because then our kids are used to communicating through phones, and they can't look at you in your eyes. They can't shake your hand. They can't, you know, they don't know how to communicate.
Oh, yeah.
You talk to them, they put their head down.
Yeah.
Lift your head, son.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? Talk to me.
Right,
you know, so whenever I go out, I always force him to do that. There's no other way to get them to understand that, right? You introduce them to another adult.
Yeah.
It's how you respect them and you show them.
Right,
So it has to be forced.
It does. And you know, I love that kind of got brought up because, and I know we're kind of going over time here, but my sister and I, we just talked about this. So my nephew is 16, just turned 16. And we've all been 16-year-old boys, right? Yeah. You're cocky. You think you're going to get it all figured out at 16, you know, everything. And if you have good parents, you know, they do really good about checking you, right? Really good about checking you. And it's a stepdad, but he's a great dad. Great dad. I love him to death. He's done fantastic for this boy. They got into a fight in a sense. And my sister's like, well, you know, and she's trying to like step in, but don't want to. So I was like, you can't step in. She's like, why? I was like, because right now, as a 16-year-old boy, he's trying to assert dominance or trying to say, hey, I'm the man of this house, because his dad is a pilot and he's gone a lot. So a lot of times he does feel like he's the man of the house. I was like, and that he should. Maybe that's part of like the Hispanic feeling, but he should. You're like, dude, if dad's gone, you're the man of the house, and that's just the way it is. Get over it. It's your duty.
Right.
Well, they had this fight, and my sister's like, well, I'm trying to. I was like, you can't. You have to let it happen. And I talked to him, and he's like, oh, my dad. I was like, you know, you're right. I was like, but there's things in life that you haven't quite understood yet. And at your age, you're not going to understand them. And Greg, as your dad, it's his job to be hard on you because life don't give a shit, bro.
Yeah.
It does not care. So as your dad, I hated my dad waking me up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to go outside and work. I hated all these things. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I get it.
I get it.
I get it. It wasn't that he wanted to do that to me.
Right.
It's just, sorry. Mijo, that's the thing. Sorry, mijo, but you got to get up and get to work. That's just the way it is, man.
Yeah.
Get up. I'm not going to get out here and do it by myself all day. I got sons out here for a reason. Let's go. And I do agree that to some degree with your son, you do have to force it. Now, I'm a girl dad, and I don't know how that is. But if I have a boy, I do tell my wife all the time, that's going to be really hard because I'm going to be tough on him. Because my dad was really tough on me. And now that he's gone, I'm like, damn, you should have been tougher. You know, you should have been tougher. What I'd give for you to just grab me one more time.
You have to take with what I said with a grain of salt.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's always, you know.
And if you're not on the same page with your wife or your significant other,
it gets hard.
It gets very difficult because of your belief systems and your cultures. And you're like, you have a vision for your child. But if your other partner doesn't see it the same way,
they also didn't grow up like the other sex did either.
Right.
You know, so the way that my wife sees the boys,
it's different for everybody.
The way I see the boys are different.
Well, it is different for everybody, and those are facts.
Yes,
however,
absolutely.
I don't care that it's different. The male needs that male dominance of education and mentorship and leadership to grow into that person. Because the man is supposed to be something of a certain standard. And if they don't get that education or mentorship, then what?
Right. And that level of and I love that you said that because it's a different, being a man is different for
Yeah.
every man.
Yeah.
But there is a certain level of like it's crazy to say.
Being a man doesn't mean being an asshole.
No,
No,
no, no, no,
no,
no,
no, no, no.
It's more
You know?
showing up and being there when people need you. Being something.
Being a man is being there
But
for somebody.
I think
in
the perception of being a man nowadays is
You're talking to the wrong men.
Yeah.
No, just look at the internet. Just go watch YouTube. Go watch
Yeah,
TikToks.
yeah,
like,
right.
just go look at what
No,
people
but-
are talking about. What men should be.
Right.
Well, at least what some men are saying.
Right.
Just
Well,
just general internet.
I'm
It's
gonna-
chaos right
and they
now.
should just be macho, and
no,
they
no,
should
no.
be dominant. And,
No.
and
But
I think there's two parts of that too. Like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you should have that, but then you also need to have the good emotional side.
Yeah.
to it as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Well, I was gonna say like the different sides of men's is like, man, I always look at people like you, men like you, and I'm like, man, they look so fucking dapper. Like they just look so good every day. They get to dress up every day and like suit and tie, and like, dang, that's cool. That's a man. And then at the same time, other people look at me and it's like, man, he gets to
I
go
don't
be
get
like
to-
a blue
my
collar
hands don't
man
get
every day.
dirty.
And it's like there's a different levels of men, but nonetheless,
But
we
even
have to
that
have
is
that
just a visual
perspective.
perception.
Right,
Because
exactly.
it has nothing to do with your heart, your soul, your thought, your mind.
Good point.
It doesn't matter what you're wearing.
But it messes with your mind.
It does.
You know,
Oh,
perception does.
According
Right.
to the world's psychology.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and I asked, and we're getting deep now, guys.
Yeah, we are.
But I always ask the question: are you in control of your mind, or is your mind in control of you?
Ooh.
I go to business meetings in flip flops and sandals and a t-shirt. And am I concerned that they're judging me, or am I certain of what I'm bringing to the table? You know what I'm saying? So we look at the world because they want us in a suit and tie,
Right.
because we're supposed to look dapper or we're supposed to be casual.
Right.
Like that has nothing to do with your intelligence or your
Yeah.
heart. Or,
I don't do it because I can't stay clean. If I got work to do,
Well,
I'm gonna
that
jump
makes
in.
sense though.
I was like, I'm just gonna jump in. My wife's like, you
Yeah.
can't keep anything. I'm like, that's why I don't wear this because there's just no stopping me. If I got work
Yeah.
to do, I'm just gonna do it, and my
Sure.
work is
This
dirty.
is going to be
Yeah.
a great talking point about having an episode about
We
perception.
transition.
Yeah.
We
You know,
transition.
because that's so important. That even comes down to especially my job.
Yeah,
because my job
perception.
is primarily perception.
It's 100% perception. It's all about perception.
Like, I got to make you look, sound, feel, smell a certain
Million
way.
bucks.
So then,
Yeah. So somebody
whatever
will buy
the
you.
outcome that I need to happen happens.
You're so I was this is a huge thing. I hope people hear this. Why is it that I'm just using words, of course, please no one be offended. But why is it that we have people that are low income, don't have much finances, they don't have money in their bank account? Why is it that we have those statistics of people wanting to look as rich as possible? Why do we have 18 and 19-year-olds who don't have any money in their pocket, but they're wearing zirconian diamonds, Michael Jordan shoes, and a Louis Vuitton fake belt? But yet you have the multimillionaire or billionaire who's wearing Payless shoes, basic khakis from Macy's, and a $20 button down, but he's worth $180 million. That $180 million millionaire, and he's driving a Toyota. And the other guy who has Jordans, fake earrings, and a gold chain is riding the bus. So that's perception and culture brainwashing you. The millionaire doesn't care.
No.
He's focused on what he needs to do for the day. You know what I'm saying? So we allow culture to influence our decision making every single day. And I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but
dude, it happens
Well,
like
we
that.
told you in the very beginning. This show happens.
This is my passion and my hunger now, because I'm working with the kids and the youth, and I'm talking to them about, why are you wearing earrings, these fake diamond earrings, and you have no money, and your mom is struggling to pay for stuff. You don't, you can't
We're
afford
giving
those
a
shoes.
false perception.
Absolutely,
Right.
Sorry.
No, and again, we could go down that road for sure, and a lot of that, we talk about the youth, and we have young kids, you're
Yeah.
involved with the youth. It's just that, that reality of there is a certain. I hate to say this, but there's a certain demand that we're fighting. We're human, right? And there's
course.
media, and there's powers that be that study us to try to get those
Psychology,
kids
yeah.
right to do that. And it's
Sales.
like all we can do is be the best men we can, be the best role models we can,
Right.
and try to bring these perceptions to these kids that
Right.
most of the time they don't get that through the media. They don't get those questions.
No.
I remember one time my little brother was like, I think 17, 18 years old. No, he's only like 20. And he was telling me he wanted some money to buy some Jordans or something. I was like, Aaron, it's like, do you like really want to be wealthy? well, what do you mean? I was like, man, you're over here. You're like 16 years old. You're trying to spend $140 on some basketball shoes. Yeah. Do you like really, really want to be wealthy? Because like I know how to get wealthy, and I'm not gonna get there for a long time, like a long time. But like, do you ever want? Well, honestly, no. I'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. And then a few years later, he's like, man, like I'm just tired of working. Is there anything? I'm like, we gotta stop buying those $140 Jordans
That would
first.
help.
Like that makes no sense. I understand you're single. I understand you got a good job. Like I understand, but you don't need the brand new car. You don't need, man. But I like that stuff. That's cool.
Well,
That's cool.
The $140, no one's teaching them. Go ahead and invest that. Go
Right,
put it in an
and that's
IRA.
the thing.
Go put it in a savings that return your money.
That's literally what I said. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
it's hard. I was like, because, on your perspective, you see your older brother and, got this company. I'm like, but you see, like, those 7 trucks out there make us money.
Right.
It's really
Yeah.
easy for me to justify going to buy. And you see, I could go buy a $40,000 truck, but I don't. I go buy a $15,000 truck because either way, they make the same amount of money.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I'm like, but it's, again, that perspective, right? And they're younger, and it takes getting old and getting some life lessons.
Wisdom.
Right. To
knocked
where,
down.
Right. To where you're at the point, you're like, you know what? Man, there's clothes on my back. I'm good. Let's go. Right. It doesn't have to be certain things. And I feel like it is good, but with our youth, it's just, man, that media, just so much. Social media, everything is constantly at them. Going to public school, that's another thing that I tell my wife all the time. Is like, they're not going to public school and trying to compete against their friends. So I could care less. As far as my ladies know, they're the most beautiful thing in the world. Because guess what? They get told that every single day. And they're not competing against 20 other little girls. But, and it's like, and maybe that's selfish, maybe. But at the same time, it's like, man, I know my parents tried to shelter me from a lot of shit. And I didn't realize it until I was older.
Right.
How much they shelter me. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try to shelter too. Like one day you're gonna see how crazy and how hard this world is. Let's try to avoid that as long as possible. So like I agree with, hey, get these boys in here, make them work in here. Don't let them get a job for somebody else that's gonna walk all over them.
Right.
Get them in here, teach them some good skills.
Want them to stay being kids.
Yeah, of course.
There's like I had. I mean, my dad was there, but he wasn't necessarily emotionally there growing up or at an early age. And it wasn't really until the last 5 years when Dad actually started talking. And I'm not just like,
well, that's because you guys are grown ass men now.
We're talking about conversation. Like, how was your day? What's going on at work?
Yeah.
Like just conversate, nothing like deep. It's just stuff like that. And he's very quiet by nature, so it's kind of weird to get to know him now.
Different personalities.
But with that being said, like my mom raised 5 kids while he worked full time. He was a carpenter, and we grew up middle class. We didn't grow up poor, but my mom used coupons, and we had great birthdays and Christmas, and we went on family vacations once or twice a year. It was a great life growing up. But I did have to take on a lot of responsibilities as being the oldest of 4 younger siblings, and my mom did rely on me to kind of fill some voids in the household that wasn't there, and kind of grow up a little bit faster. And then eventually I was like, okay, you've got to figure this out. I kind of came to an acknowledgement where I'm like, all right, I've got to take my own journey now.
Right.
We all do that, I think.
I started my entrepreneurship journey at 8 years old, by the way, to answer your question with him.
Oh, wow.
So 8, 9, 10, I used to run like little lemonade donut stands and
Absolutely.
like garage
That's how it
sales.
starts.
I wanted a bird.
Yeah.
And I went and rode my bicycle to the neighborhood market or warehouse market and filled my backpack up with candy bars. I had like $15, and back then they were like 4 for $1. And I'd go and sell them for 50 cents or $1 a candy bar, knock on doors, and people were like, "Oh, are you doing this for Boy Scouts?" I'm like, "No, I want a bird." And they're like, "Okay, cool." I'd get my dad's lawnmower and just haul it up and down the street. I'd go water people's lawns. I'd go like take care of their dogs when they're not home, or like anything I could do to make a few bucks.
Right.
I'd do it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I was a hustler at an early age.
Good.
And I say that in a good standpoint.
Of course.
Yeah. So and I loved it. That was fun. I started. I was in 3rd grade and started trading stocks with some of the money that I made from that. And my parents opened up the account. And I'm like, let me log in. You open up me an account under you.
Yeah.
And I'll deposit, I'll give you my money, deposit it, and did some stuff like that. And that was fun. So
that's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's
It should
beautiful.
be.
Yep. That's right.
So, okay, so where can I find your book?
Foreverfaith.com. www.foreverfaith.com. Just, Google Forever Faith or Abe Cruz, Mindset of Champions.
Okay.
All those taglines, hashtags they'll take you directly to the website. And yeah, get it. I hope you enjoy it, read it, and then pass it on to somebody else, another child in need, an athlete in need, because it's just my life story with lessons. That's going to give them they're going to learn from my mistakes, and that was the whole purpose of it. It wasn't. It was just to tell the story and say, hey, God is here for us, and we can do it.
Awesome.
And socials. Where can
Socials,
I find you? Instagram, I know you're hot on
Instagram, you can just, again, go to Forever Faith, or my personal is The Real Abe Cruz. There's a couple fake ones. So just The Real Abe Cruz, you'll see everything there. Those are some of the letters from prison.
Okay, we're going to have to read that.
These are some of the
that's
letters
cool.
from prison, and I was just, writing out the vision, making it plain, and everything that was written out, we've done. I've already had discussions about the movie and what director we would use and where we're going to film it and budgets. And so the conversation has already started on film. Everything is there. We're working on cleats right now. We just signed a couple of big soccer football programs across America and Colombia. So we're in development of cleats for soccer and football. And it's just the journey is barely taking off. It's been a long journey. That the world is barely seen right now because of the lawsuit and COVID and everything else. So,
is there anywhere I can buy your clothing?
So right
Do you
now,
retail?
Retail, no, because right now we only sell to clubs. We only sell to clubs, football clubs, basketball clubs. We sell to high schools, youth programs, high schools, colleges, NCAA. We're forced to a point now where, yes, we're going to have to open up a retail store / also online, so we'll ship as well. But there's different phases to our business, and we're gonna have to, of course, do a retail side. But I'm not in a rush to do that right now. The whole mission was for the youth to be excited, and as you saw in the trailer, there's no way I can be at every single school or program, but they're learning what the MOC stands for, Mindset of Champions. So whenever I'm available, I speak with the kids, we'll give them a book, they're wearing the brand, they understand the purpose and mission, and now they're a customer for life. So after that happens, they'll come back and buy retail when it's time.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
Man, it's been a pleasure.
No, thank you guys.
To speak with you, to learn about your journey, and then have some great conversations a little afterwards.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
I know we could probably sit here
I'm sure.
For hours.
for hours.
Yes.
This is one of those episodes that's going down in the books.
For sure.
I
Thank you,
love
sir.
it, man.
Yes.
So again, if you guys have any comments, questions, you want to learn more about Forever Faith, or
Yes.
you need to get in touch with him, there's plenty of ways to do that. As you mentioned, go to the website, buy the book, contact him on socials if you need anything.
Yep.
And then on Brews and Business, if you want to hear from somebody in any particular industry or whatever, let us know, and we'll see if we can get him on the show and interview, have some questions, good talks, things like that too. So we have official gear on the brewsinbiz.com. Like, comment, share, and leave us a review. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys. Thank you.